Okay, so a picture is worth 1,000 words. Okay, so I want to show you the 4 quadrant of adaptation cycles with viruses everywhere. So we have now established that viruses are just simply messages. Okay, that's what viruses are, neither good nor bad. They are just messages. Now, how they translate to your body is then going to then have you say whether it's good or evil. So viruses on a weak body, it's an evil message because your body can't handle it. Your body is a CPU, a very weak CPU, and it cannot handle the message of that virus. And that virus could be very weak or it could be very strong. Okay? So viruses are just basically messengers. They're foreign entities. Okay? So just think of the United States and China. Think of your body and these viruses. China is a very strong virus. Okay, so we'll say China equals a virus. Well, if the United States is very weak, that strong virus is going to overtake America. Okay, maybe it already has. If the virus is very strong, or if the virus is very strong, it'll take over the weak country like the U.S. If the virus is very strong, okay, hold on a second. If the virus is very weak, it won't take over the country. It'll just be like, okay, diplomatic relations. If the virus is very strong, it'll take over America. Yeah, this is some interesting stuff that I'm still kind of like ironing out. So you're seeing this in development because I'm actually writing about this right now. And I already sent the 4 quadrants of death as far as antibiotics already to Kevin and Bridget. So I already sent the 4 quadrants of death as far as antibiotics, okay? Now I have the 4 quadrants of adaptation cycles with viruses everywhere, okay? So let me just kind of give you an idea. So this is the viruses right here on this continuum, okay? It goes from like weak to strong or strong to weak. Then you have the body. It's always going to be on a quadrant because it depends upon where you lay within the quadrant and how these things affect you because it's like a continuum. Everybody is different, and relative to what you bring to the table will be dependent upon where you are in this quadrant. So on this body is from a weak, so think of the body as a central processing unit. Okay, it's going to be a weak central processing unit, and it could be like an old version, or it could be a very new version, like Microsoft has a new version, and so you have a very strong memory and strong central processing unit. Okay, so you have viruses on this quadrant, and then the body on this quadrant from weak to strong, weak to strong. And so quadrant, I gotta do the quadrant numbers. Okay, hold on. Quadrant number 1, quadrant number 2, quadrant number 3, and then quadrant number 4. So we have 4 quadrants. So the first quadrant is basically a strong virus on a weak body. You're looking at probably death is pretty imminent. You're looking at if you have a weak body and you're elderly or in hospice and they ship you off to like, the Amazon, you're going to succumb to all the viruses. You're going to die pretty quickly. Okay, if you even make it through the customs and through the airplanes, because all those viruses you get in airplanes, oh my God. Okay, so on a weak body, and you have a strong virus, and that's a short adaptation cycle. And it's HI is homeostasis interruption. You're going to have a major homeostasis interruption if you have a very weak body with a strong exposure to a virus. And this is what the anti-vaxxers live within because they got weak bodies. And, even if the vaccines aren't strong, they're attenuated, it's relative to how weak their bodies are. So it could be still on a continuum. Okay, no matter what, they're still going to have an upset of homeostasis. And death could be actually the first thing, and that would be, or you'd have cancer, disease, chronic illness, and then aging. Okay, so this is in the quadrant number 1, is a strong virus on a weak body. It is a short adaptation cycle. And that's people who die from being exposed to like Lyme disease, and they're like 2 years old. So quadrant number 2 is then on a strong virus on a strong body. This is the optimal place to be. And this is where you can take the messages from the virus, because viruses have messages. Some information is good, some information you don't need. Okay? So cancer is not necessarily bad. It's the fact that your body is weak. It can't handle the message. Those of you who have been dealing with cancer in your life and you basically have conquered cancer, you just strengthen your body to be able to handle the message from those viruses you've been exposed to. So you still have the programming from those viruses, but they're not so prevalent where they're taking over your body and eating up everything in sight. Okay, because what happens is your body was able to filter out the excess programming and you still kept the good programming from those viruses. So you took a little bit of good out of all those viruses and your body was able to get enhanced by that, and you strengthen your body. You still have the antibodies, which is the information, but it's not taking over. Okay, so it's like taking a little bit of information from each guru out there. It's like taking a little bit of information from every single political candidate out there. Every single one of them has something to offer. But if you take just one political candidate, they have bad stuff in their platform too. So you have, as a strong entity, should be able to release the excess stuff that you don't want from that candidate and just take the good stuff. Okay, that's another analogy I could say as far as conquering cancer, is that you still kept the information from your exposure, but it's not destroying you because you just strengthen your central processing unit. Okay, so this is the optimal place to be, is number 2. Your enhancement, the messages from those viruses enhanced your body, mind, and spirit, and it did it all simultaneously. And so now you have a long adaptation cycle. Could it be indefinitely? Yeah, there's a possibility, but hey, if you don't strengthen your body and you keep strengthening your body, then guess what? The viruses are going to take over the programming. And it's going to program your body out of existence. Okay, it's like a black hole. These viruses can be really good information, or it could be a black hole and completely envelop you. All right, so this is why you guys that just conquered cancer, you now need to do more work to strengthen your body to then establish a different programming, but still keep the information from those viruses because it's still good stuff. You just don't want it to take over. So every single virus is out there, and you're exposed to very weak viruses and very strong viruses. They all have something to offer to enhance the body. And this is kind of like how to tap in to derive good energy and good messages from your environment, because you have an actual biochemistry that will be able to discern the good information from the bad information, but you have to know how to apply the right programming. Okay? So this is the ultimate way to be. Now, on a strong body but a weak virus, okay, you may have a weak homeostasis interruption, like maybe the other day, yesterday, when I expelled that loogie, that was a weak and I had a little bit of like tiredness. That was a weak virus on a strong body. You have a homeostasis interruption and adaptation. But here, on this side of it here, you still have you might have a homeostasis interruption on a strong body and a strong virus. It just depends on how it manifests. Like it's like if I wanted to really test it out, I'm going back here. If I want to test out my strong body on a strong virus, I would have to go into like the Congo, unprotected, in the area where they have Ebola, to test out my theory on how my homeostasis interruption would translate with being on a strong body with a strong virus in the environment. That's already been substantiated by the CDC. Okay, so there's no way for me to really know exactly what type of viruses I've been exposed to, but you can only see by how your body manifests the changes. You may see an enhancement just in your hormones. You may see your body get stronger, but you're like, well, is it the nutrition? Is it the hormone? It's like nutrition, yes, but also you're getting so much data on a daily, minutely, like second basis, and there's no way for you to know which data that you received was the ultimate reason why you felt stronger. Like, I don't know if it was the fact that I actually fixed a mutation in my body or fixed a weakness in my body and it just happened yesterday, or that I was exposed to a virus that actually I was able to derive the right benefits from that virus, the right message, and was able to release the rest, and then it really enhanced my ability to have endurance and stay awake and not fall out and still be able to function and function well. Okay, so sometimes it's hard to say exactly what is the correlation to why you healed or why you felt stronger. So, so So you just that's why keep track of your homeostasis interruption, keep track of your healing process, keep track of all that, because that's just, part of the bigger picture. Okay, so on a weak virus on a strong body, you still may get, a weak homeostasis interruption, or you might get a strong one, it just depends. But you're still able to adapt. You'll still have a long adaptation cycle. So it just depends on your exposure to people. I mean, you could be out in the Swiss Alps in the middle of nowhere, and maybe you get a weak virus on a strong body. Maybe you don't even feel anything. Maybe there is a homeostasis interruption that you probably don't even recognize, but it's there, but you just think it's like blowing your nose. Yeah, sneezing and blowing your nose is a homeostasis interruption. It's your body getting rid of foreign entities, foreign particles. Okay, so even simply blowing your nose and sneezing and coughing is your body releasing. So homeostasis interruption could be as little as sneeze and a cough, and a poop and a pee, and a sweat, okay? So then you have on this side of it, which is, this is on a weak body, and on a weak body with a weak virus. And there's homeostasis interruption, of course, a short adaptation cycle, and you will be contracting at some point cancer, disease, and chronic illness, aging, and death. So weak bodies and weak viruses. So these people are in the anti-vax world that don't get vaccine because they're so afraid of it, and they have and they're high antibiotics because they're doing all the holistic stuff, and so they're going to be a candidate for cancer, disease, and chronic illness. But they stay in their perspective bubble. Let's say they stay in the Midwest where they've already been exposed to all the viruses. Nothing strong. There's no foreigners coming in and giving them extra viruses. So they have a weak body and weak virus exposure, and they're not leaving their perspective community. So they'll just steadily age. They'll start seeing their body breaking down. They'll have, colds and flus and viruses, every year. And they start seeing the gradual degradation. And that's usually people that don't go anywhere, that don't travel too far from their home. Like the Amish. The Amish actually fit in this quadrant because they don't mix in too much with the general population. They don't go and travel. They stay in their perspective bubbles of a community. Okay? And so a weak body, weak viruses, it's just that gradual degradation, that gradual death trajectory. And then a weak virus on a strong body, So these, this is the 4 quadrants. And so I got to write about this. Okay? So the 4 quadrants of viruses on a weak or strong body, how the body actually adapts or basically dies. Okay? And so I'm going to have this, the 4 quadrants of virus, how do I say this? The 4 quadrants of adaptation cycles with viruses everywhere. And then this is the 4 quadrants of the 4 antibiotic death quadrants, or whatever you want to call this. There's a name for this. I have it in my email. Okay, so these 2 I'm going to have in the book. And it's not going to be so much of a chapter. It's going to be, it might be a chapter, but there'll be an explanation. Because viruses, and I'll have maybe like a reference that talks about how viruses are just messages. Some are stronger than others, and the reason why they've been demonized is because we've been dealing with very, very weak bodies, very mutated bodies that can't handle the amount of messages that are out there in the environment. Just like your phone can handle the amount of applications if you don't increase its memory. And so I know that, that since we're coming from now a computer standpoint, like a computer analogy, and understanding firewalls and understanding viruses and how they could be applied and how they can work against you, but also work for you. I mean, it all is based upon just what the phone or the CPU, what it brings to the table, or the person. Now, I don't know how viruses can enhance a computer program. Well, I mean, so I'm just trying to think, what would be the benefit of a virus in a computer? Well, I mean, having a virus in I'll have to think about that. I don't have an answer for that. So I will think about, as far as how would a virus, it's still a message, because there's weak viruses that are out there, and then there's strong, like the Trojan horse and other types of big viruses, and there are weaker ones that maybe have enhanced computers. I don't know. I'll have to look at that. Maybe Kevin knows. I don't know. But at least in the world of biochemistry and biodiversity, there are benign type viruses that just enhance the biodiversity, and then there are very strong viruses that if the biodiversity is weak, it won't be able to handle that strength, and then that stronger virus will then overtake. And that's what that's what we deal with every day as far as J-Juice and as far as just humanity, is that we are a type of entity, and our strength and our weakness is going to be the life of us or the death of us, because we do live in a competitive world. There are stronger countries out there, there are stronger animals out there, stronger people, and you have to learn how to tap into all your resources to be able to protect yourself from those stronger entities. And it's not just strength as far as physical strength, it could be mental strength, it could be other like knowledge, it could be spiritual strength, hormonal strength, I guess. Okay, so I'm in development of writing about this, and I have to speak about it and stumble over my words, and you guys get to see it all get developed, and it'll help you understand the world that you live in and what you have to do to apply J-Juice, so that way you're not being overtaken by somebody else's programming. Okay, because that's really what it is these viruses, and that you can actually derive benefit. Like, this last video that I did, I was kind of like sort of bashing other gurus out there. Not really bashing, but kind of just showing the other side of people being gurus. And I'm not discounting all these gurus out there. I'm not. I'm just showing you that we need to really hold these gurus out there accountable, so that way they can really give the people that are following them the bigger picture, so they're not getting led down a crazy path. Okay? So it's like I can take specific things and I can spin it and convert it to a good message. And every single one, because I'm telling you, there's gurus out there that I have repeated some of their mantras and talked about them. That, hey, this guy said this about laws. This other guy said this about this. But I don't agree with all of their methodologies, but I can take pieces from their protocols, from their ideas and thought process, and then start creating my own protocol. That's what J-Juice is, really, is taking pieces from everything out there in the holistic world, allopathic world, from different gurus, from different lifestyles, from different belief systems, analogies from just different like interests, like plants and diplomacy, politics, and the conspiracy world. And then guess what? I took all those working pieces that fit in those contexts and created a whole different context and a whole different animal. So that's essentially what we are doing with the J-Juice and with these viruses that are out there that we have no control over. Is we're basically taking all the good from all of those different viruses and messages and everything else, and we are enhancing our expectations and enhancing our life and enhancing our longevity and making us stronger. Okay, so that's essentially the foundation of J-Juice, is taking the good stuff and be able to release the excess. And that's what the autophagic waterfalls are. It's taking and absorbing the good stuff and then releasing the rest. So everything is fractal. It's all fractal, a continuous of the same, but what makes it all different is the words and then the different context. That's the only difference between all of these different things out there. Okay, so we're just now really being strategic on what we pick and choose to build up the new world that we have as far as the J-Juice. All right, bye.